Welcome back to the Memberships and Courses podcast. My name is Tracy Childers, and I'm excited to introduce you to our next guest, and his name is Andrew Locke. Andrew, thank you so much for being here. Really excited
My
to
pleasure.
start
Yeah,
interviewing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Andrew, I've known you for quite a long time, and I've known a lot of stuff that you've done, and we're going to get into it. But I first wanted to ask you, when I first met you, we were running together in internet marketing circles, and I just recognized right out of the gate that you were just a doer. I don't know how you got into the industry though. So why don't we start there and maybe you just give us a little
Yeah.
bit of an overview?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually, my background was in the entertainment industry. And back in England, I was a cameraman at the BBC, and then I was created TV programs, shows. And through a weird kind of set of circumstances, I ended up managing a very famous celebrity in England called Paul Daniels, who's not really known in America, but his TV show was in 43 countries around the world, and
Wow.
he was sort of like the Jimmy Fallon of the day, I suppose. Household name in England, and one of the things that he did was entertainment magic, and like illusions and card tricks, and he presented various TV shows and whatnot. Anyway, through that the magic connection, I was invited to speak at an event in Atlanta by a chap called Dave D, who taught magicians how to build a business. And at that event, which was late 90s, Dave kept talking about his mentor, which was a guy called Dan Kennedy.
Wow.
And so but the things that he was talking about him, really resonated with me because um, it was things that I believed in, and it was like, oh wow, this sounds like my kind of crowd, because this is kind of the stuff that I'm already doing. And it was quite, I thought I was kind of being an innovator in doing stuff that no one else had thought of, but actually it was a lot of what Dan was teaching. So I connected with Dan and bought some of his courses, and then was introduced to a chap called Yannick Silver, and Yannick was doing his first event, his underground event in Washington, and I'd never met Yannick, but I said to him, "Hey, I see you've got this event. Have you? Do you have someone to film it?" So he said, "No, actually, I've been looking for someone." So I told him about my background, and um, he was like, "Oh, well, that's perfect. Let's do that." And so I went there and filmed it, and it was this whole world of internet marketing opened up to me at the event. It was fascinating, and I bought a couple of courses there too. And after the event, Yannick said, "Well, what did you think of it?" I said, "Oh, it's great." I said, "But the production side of it could definitely use some work." And he was like, "Yeah, I know. I've never done this before." And I said, "Well, I can help you with that." So he was telling me about, he wants to do this sort of spy theme and make it, really kind of memorable. So I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll join your mastermind group as a trade for producing your next event." So he was like, "Okay,
Wow.
deal."
Smart move.
So that in that mastermind, which was the first year he'd done it, there was a whole bunch of um, people who'd never met each other before, but we became lifelong friends, and including people like Ryan Dice, who was the baby of the group, Perry Belcher. I mean, you name it. It was like, because Yannick had attracted all these people. And so it was absolutely brilliant. And a funny thing happened in that year was that I had been using eBay and done quite well on eBay at that point, but I developed a unique system for using eBay for lead generation, which no one had thought of doing at that time. And I developed it into a system and worked in a bunch of niches, and it really worked like gangbusters, because at that time eBay traffic was just absolutely huge. And of course, it was all buyers. And basically, created a way to leverage those buyers on eBay to build a big list. And I shared it in my presentation with the mastermind group, and they just thought it was amazing. And they awarded, the group awarded me like the best presentation of the mastermind group. And here I am as the newbie. It was just kind of one of those, the right thing at the right time kind of thing. And so then, I got to produce Yannick's events throughout the years, and every year was bigger and better. And through that, I also got to meet Dan Kennedy and started producing his events as well, and developed a friendship with Dan, which was just absolutely fantastic. Just I've learned so much from him, and so many others too in this space, including you. And so that was it, really just over the years. Just a kind of strange entry into this world, but there you go. Yeah.
So that's so interesting to me that you almost just sort of fell into the events, but because that background, you just kept pushing it. And I started earlier, and I said, I've always recognized that you were a doer, and you've actually produced several of your own events. One of them was here in Park City, Utah, and that's partly why I ended up loving Park City, Utah.
Yeah, that's right.
How did that come about? Was that just like, are you sitting at all these other events knowing that you kind of did a lot of the background work? Like, I could do this for myself.
Yeah, I love doing Yannick's events, particularly because he was so willing to be creative. If anybody remember those
I remember
events,
those.
we had huge theatrical style stage sets with theatrical lighting and everything. And I just love that because to me, it makes it much more unique. It makes it more memorable. It makes it more fun. There was a soundtrack that went along with the event, and all the rest of it. And so Yannick, I really appreciated his vision and willingness to do that, because it does require a lot more planning and frankly more money to do it. But those events, they were the number one events in internet marketing because for lots of reasons, but that was part of it. They were just so unique, and special. But I had a background in production as well, and I felt like there was a gap in the market for an event that sort of combined TED Talks with entertainment. And so when I say TED Talks, more for business style. And so Ryan Lee and myself came up with a concept called SAM, which stood for sales, advertising, and marketing. And essentially that's what it was. It was a theatrical style event in a theater that combined 18-minute short presentations on those topics of sales, advertising, marketing, interspersed with world-class entertainment. We had some winners from American Idol and all kinds of a bit like America's Got Talent, that kind of a variety entertainment. And it was a blast. I've done it 3 times, most recently with Chris Farrell in Vegas, where we had a huge theatre there. But just yeah, a lot of fun, and something that was sort of combined my skills and abilities really from the past. And I think that's one thing that really is what we should do is leverage the things that we're naturally good at. And I am naturally good at putting on events. I know how to do that inside out. It's not difficult for me. Whereas, for someone else, it would be very sort of daunting and intimidating. So I think that is, it's certainly much easier to leverage strengths than it is to try and develop weaknesses. And yet a lot of us fall into that trap of struggling to work with areas that we're inherently weak at, like technology, for example. If you realize you're just not good at it, then get someone else to help you. Or if you're not good at video production, or if you're not good at writing, leverage those things, because there's plenty of people that are good at it.
That's an excellent point. And I'm thinking back of the first SAM that you did here in Park City, Utah. I believe it was in 2010.
Yeah,
And
around there, yeah.
I got to attend that first one, and it had a big impact on me. You also mentioned Yannick, and you were in that mastermind group, and
Yeah,
that's actually where I first met you. I think it was through the relationships with Ryan Dice and Perry
that's right.
Belcher.
That's right.
But so now that we're talking about masterminds, uh, I saw Yannick give the presentation when he first started that thing, and I was really intrigued with it. But you've been involved in several. You've run your
Oh
own,
yeah.
and you've run them for other people. So was that maybe a similar type
Yeah,
scenarios? Like, I saw what people were doing, and I just want to do it my way.
yeah, I really didn't know what a mastermind was until I joined Yarnex, but as soon as I did, I realized the incredible power of it, not only in um, acquiring great information and strategies from a wide variety of businesses, which I think is very valuable, as well as, very people that were doing real cutting edge stuff. Um, and I absolutely was, the baby in terms of marketing experience, I would say, or particularly internet marketing experience. I had marketing experience, but so that was one aspect of it. And then the other aspect is, relationships and being able to do deals together. And so I very quickly became a huge fan of mastermind groups. And as I developed my own following over the next few years from selling courses and products, that was something that I started putting together very quickly, was my own mastermind groups, which I've done for years. And then also there's really two other mastermind types of groups that I've been involved with. One is paid groups over the years with people that I respect and admire, and then also more peer-to-peer groups. Fortunately, there was a group that came out of when Dan Kennedy decided to stop doing his platinum group. A lot of the members from that one decided to create their own peer-to-peer group, which they invited me to be a part of, and that's been running, oh my goodness, over 15 years now.
Wow.
And that's been amazing because, when I say peer-to-peer group, what we do is we meet in Orlando 3 times a year. Makes it very easy when you know exactly where it's going to be. Makes it easier for arranging, and we all fly into the airport there and meet in the airport. And we each contribute an amount that goes into a kitty, and out of that we pay for the fees of the meeting space and meals. And so it's not a for-profit group. We just cover expenses. And then what we also do is we take it in turns to facilitate. So each meeting, one of us facilitates. So there's no hierarchy. it's we all feel like we're um, on a similar level in terms of um, you know knowledge of marketing and so on, and also willingness to help each other. And so over the years we've become very close as a group, and it's become far more than just business. We talk about personal stuff in there too. It's like last year, in the pandemic, I struggled quite a bit with depression, and you know, different ones have other, challenges, relationship challenges, and all kinds of things. And so we talk about all those things too, because, it's a safe space where we can confide in each other in a way that many other types of people who don't understand our types of
Right.
businesses and circumstances just wouldn't understand. So, if you haven't um, experienced that yourself, I highly recommend joining a mastermind group. I know you have done that many times over the years too, Tracy. But if you're listening, it's absolutely, unquestionably one of the secrets of my success is being involved in a mastermind group over the years. It's that critical. You just it's trying to be a lone operator is a disaster.
Yeah. I've said this on the podcast already, and it's funny. I actually got an email from a friend today, and he was like, "Man, when you said this quote, he goes, it really hit me hard." And the quote that I learned from somebody else is isolation kills entrepreneurs. And I love the fact that you're
Yeah,
able to be open with your mastermind group and even share with us about going through depression. I think that what happens, especially with pandemic, and I talked to a bunch of my friends that were entrepreneurs, and I shared like, man, it was hard on me, and I dealt with
yeah,
some
yeah.
depression, and a lot of them are like, you know what, I felt the exact same way. So
Mm,
I
mm.
appreciate you sharing that with us, Andrew. You've
Yeah, I
always
think
been
we
a real
do.
good friend and being transparent and stuff.
Yeah, we do need to talk about these things because, first of all, it's very common. Secondly, we should be able to support each other with these things. And personally, for me, the pandemic was pretty much a train wreck because I'd say the lion's share of my um, income at that time, or before, I should say, was through speaking. Because I love travel and I love speaking, but of course, that all came to a screeching halt,
Right.
and I felt like I lost my way. Uh, you know, I, and also the isolation too. That was it. So it's a combination of factors. Um, I had on my Help My Business show a couple of years ago, I had Tony Grebmeyer, who I had been in a mastermind group with in War Room, and he was very open about his struggles with addiction.
Mm.
And that I know that episode helped a lot of people because, again, it's a topic that isn't talked about um, nearly enough. And I'm an introvert. I think he is too. Many of us are. And it's actually it's not easy to talk about these things, but we do need to. And uh, you know, to realize that to normalize them. I think because um, there's no shame in admitting that we go through these things. Everybody's dealing with something. They really
Yeah.
are, whether it's personal or family. That's just the reality of life. I mean, the times are hard. So um for some it's health issues, for some it's family challenges. There's all kinds of things, but I do believe in being open about these things.
I heard a funny quote. I don't know if it's a quote or if it's a title of a book, but it was like something to the effect of everybody's screwed up once you get to know them well enough.
Yeah, we all have our
um,
challenges. Yeah, so true, so true.
so you said something that was kind of interesting, and I wanted to jump to it because you said that your mastermind group meets in Orlando 3 times a year.
Mm,
So there's lots of
mm,
things that are going through my mind. Number
mm,
one, not necessarily get into this, is that you're systematizing it. Repetition,
Yes,
it's just easier because we know where we're going. We're not like
exactly.
recreating the wheel every time. So that's smart. I grew up in Orlando,
Mm.
lived there from age 2 until 18, and then spent another year after college. And while I was there, I, worked for Disney. I worked at
Oh,
MGM
yeah.
Studios and stuff.
Yeah.
And now you, on the other hand, are you've written books. I think you've written like
Mm,
10 books and you have like a number
mm,
one bestseller
mm.
about Disney. So just tell us a little bit more about that, because I even got to tell us about the trips, because I went on one of the trips.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just fascinating.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Just to mention, by the way, about the mastermind thing, that the systemizing it works really well for that type of peer-to-peer group. In when I ran my own groups, um, one of the things that is very valuable is to have the last meeting of the year as a retreat, as a destination that's somewhere interesting, like Disney, because it makes it much easier to get people signed up for, when they go on a fun experience for the next year. But that's sort of a little aside there, just as a
So there's some
as a
bonding going on there,
yeah,
right?
as a note.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that helps. So yeah, Disney. I when I was a teenager, I um was badly bullied at school, and I was sort of feeling sorry for myself. And I was sitting in a doctor's waiting room one day, and there was a Reader's Digest magazine there, and one of the articles was about Walt Disney. And so I picked it up, and I was just so fascinated by him, and read this whole article. And I really resonated with him because, without going into all the details, his the background he came from, and he faced challenges at school and whatnot. And I was just so taken and fascinated by him. It sort of triggered this lifelong study of him and everything that he achieved. And over the years, I'd read every book about Disney and watched all the documentaries and visited all the theme parks around the world many, many times. And I realized a couple of things. One was that there was very little information that was geared towards entrepreneurs relating to Disney, even though it deserved to be more information because he was an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Most of the books about him are either sort of the biography style of his life, or corporate lessons from where Disney is today, but very little on the entrepreneurial side or that relates to small business. And so I decided to write that book, which took almost 4 years. And the other thing was, about 15 years ago, I saw a gap in the market for behind the scenes tours of Disney parks. Because again, although Disney offered this through something called Disney Institute, it's really designed for corporations, and there's nothing for entrepreneurs and small business owners. So I approached them, and they were quite sort of cautious to begin with because they didn't know me, but I built up a relationship with them, and I've now been doing those tours for 15 years, taking small groups, sometimes mastermind groups, sometimes niche interest groups. And it's absolutely, everybody says the same thing, that it's a life-changing experience, to kind of see Disney in a whole different light. And that's really, again, the purpose of the book. It's called Walt Disney's Way. How to build a better business using the magical marketing strategies of Walt Disney. So I spent a lot of effort in making the book very practical. It's very easy to read. There's tons of great lessons that any business owner can adapt Even though Disney does things in a very specific way, what I've done is drawn from the underlying principle of what they do, and then I show you how to adapt that in your own business. So it's been a real rewarding thing to have that as part of my as an entrepreneur. I've got a whole bunch of things going, but that's a big part of what I do, and I love it.
Well, so I have not had a chance to read the book yet, but I'm planning to get it, and I will read that very soon. But I'm curious now that you said, I mean, certainly I went on a tour with you,
Yeah.
and what you're saying is people see it in a different light, and I felt like I saw it in even
Mm,
a different light than most people because since I grew up there, I went as a kid, and then I
right.
worked there. So I've been in the behind the scenes and all that stuff. But when
Absolutely.
we came in on your tour, and I'm curious if this is some of the content of the book, is a, every step into the park, you were showing us lessons. And so
Mm,
the biggest thing that stuck out in my mind was almost we talk about memberships and courses, and a big
yeah.
thing is you got to focus on the onboarding. And the
Mm.
onboarding is basically their first experience with you. Is that part of some of the content? Because I remember you right when we were going, you were talking about everything that was right at the front of the park. And I
Yeah.
never thought about that. And then you
Yeah.
said how to do it with your business.
Yeah, there are literally hundreds of details that really stemmed from Walt, because he was that's how he was. He really wanted it to be the best it could possibly be. From things like the color of the pavement. Most people just think it's a random kind of bright color, but that was actually Walt asked Kodak to do a very intensive study to figure out what color would look best in photographs, and that
Wow.
that that color was the result of testing hundreds of different colors. So that's one little detail right there. Um, Another detail is the music. When you walk into Main Street, you hear music, but what you don't realize is that every track is extremely carefully chosen. First of all, the music is very relevant to the land that you're in. So when you walk into Main Street, which is the front of the park, the music is correct to that time period. But it also is, it varies according to the time of day. So when you first walk in, it's sort of very upbeat, marching band type, or inspirational, happy music. And then as the day goes on, it gradually becomes more mellow until the time, when the park closes. It's very much very mellow, very kind of, more ballad style. Again, still in keeping with that land, but it psychologically has an effect on people, because when someone's coming into the park and they hear that happy upbeat music, it's energizing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
exciting. But you don't want that when people are leaving. You want them to be calm, because there's huge crowds. You want to sort of instill a calmness, a sort of this is all winding down, and and so the music accomplishes that. So again, there's every little detail is thought of. When you go along the main street along the entrance to the park there, you'll find that the shop windows are very low to the ground. They're about 1 foot off ground, whereas normal shop windows would be about 4 foot off the ground. Well, why did they do that? Well, Walt wanted kids to be able to see into the
Mm,
shop windows. So,
smart.
he just thought of everything. It's really, really amazing. Actually, if you look at all of the senses, they are all covered there in every aspect of the park. So, as you walk into the park again, there's strategically placed popcorn stands to create a nice aroma there. When you
Mm-hmm.
walk past the ice cream shop, there's a smell of waffle waffle cones being made, even though they don't actually make them there. They pipe the smell out into the pavement
Huh.
using technology that they invented and patented called a smellitzer, because they realize how important smells are. And so for someone just walking by, it adds to the experience because it smells really nice. And for someone that's in the mood for buying an ice cream, it also helps accomplish that too. So it's kind of a double whammy. But, again, it's all these details. But, applying the principle, as you say, there's many principles that we go into, but one of them is first impressions count. And if you walk into a Disney park compared to any other theme park that you've ever been to, whether it's Universal or SeaWorld or Knott's Berry Farm or whatever, there simply is no comparison, and people can't put their finger on it. But it's some of those details that I mentioned. It's the fact that everything's freshly painted. It's the fact that it's by far the cleanest theme park you'll ever see in anywhere in your life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, though all of those details matter. So whether or not you have a retail type store or an online business, the principles hold true. Is how often do you analyze those details? Like the other week I was at Disney doing the tours, and I had a bunch of childcare business owners with me. And so we talked about, when was the last time you walked into your lobby looking at it through the eyes of a guest? And they all admitted, you know what, we don't do that. And I said, if you do, you're going to be shocked, because you're going to be seeing paint chipped away on the floor, on the walls. You're going to see carpet stains. You're going to realize there's no music when there should be music. You're going to realize that if there is music, it's the wrong type of music. You're going to realize that there's no aroma there. It's easy to get these little plug-in scents, and so on and so on and so on. And then if you're an e-commerce business, what's the first impression when someone hits your landing page, your homepage? Is it just a generic welcome message? Welcome to, that's boring. That's it doesn't do anything to serve the guest. Does it capture their attention? Does it capture their imagination? Does it make them feel excited about being there? And if they're a repeat visitor, is there a different message for them? As Disney does, they adapt according to who's visiting and when and how. So, there's, like I say, it doesn't matter that Disney are in a different business to us. All the principles are very, very adaptable to any type of business. And, that's really what I've been able to accomplish over the years in helping entrepreneurs to do that.
Okay, we're so far down the Disney path, but I have to ask you this one. I was going to ask you a question about membership sites, but since I went to Disney as a kid, you probably remember this. It was like in the beginning, it was almost like a carnival or a fair. You had to buy tickets, and then we got at the end of the day, and it was like, oh, we don't have any more tickets. And then I remember them changing. No, it's a 1-day pass, and you go on anything. And then it evolved, and then they had the fast passes. The last time I was there, well, no, not the last time. Last time I was there was with you, but prior to that, they had just introduced the magic bands. And I was like, oh my goodness, from a marketing perspective, I read an article. I think they spent over $1 billion developing the technology. But when you're walking around and people were like, yeah, I need a Coke, and just stick out their wrist. And it was like, they just mastered the art of a smooth transaction. Have you seen that? Has that just changed?
Yeah, it's been a game changer for sure. They figured it would be, but of course, no one had done it before, so they didn't know. But they've easily recouped that outlay, actually many times over now, because, as you say, it makes buying zero friction. You don't have to worry about a card being declined. You don't have to worry about carrying cash. As you say, you literally just tap your your wrist on any of these outlets, and and they're using them for other things as well, for reservations and even for park entry. So it's definitely reduced a lot of friction. They're bringing it to Disneyland as well now. So yeah, that's been they've been really, really great with innovation. Not to say that they don't make mistakes. I think they're making a lot of mistakes now with being I think overly greedy as a result of coming out of the pandemic. There was enormous pent up demand. And of course, they did lose a lot of money during the pandemic, but so did many other companies. And unfortunately, the new CEO that came in during the pandemic, Bob Chapek, is the employees have nicknamed him Bob Paycheck because of
Oh
his
no.
reputation for being a bean counter. And he is responsible for doing away with Fast Pass, and now they've brought in something called Genie Plus, which is now a fee-based Fast Pass, but it's very complicated, and there's multiple layers of fees. Guests, for the most part, don't like it at all, and of course, ticket prices have continued to go up as well, as have merchandise prices, as have meal prices. So it's not uncommon to see guests around the park wearing T-shirts that say in a Disney font. Of course, they're not sold by Disney, but it says "most expensive day ever."
That is funny.
So I don't think Walt would have supported that. I really don't. Because he was, I understand, and he would understand that it's corporate based now, but there's a balance to be had, and I just think they're being too greedy too soon. I think it's bordering on exploitative with some of the things that they're doing, and I know many people would agree with that. So in the long term, we'll see what happens, but generally, as a company to model. They're in a very unique position in not only being one of the most profitable companies in the world, but they're also one of the most admired companies in the world. And that combination of the two is very, very rare.
Right. Very important as well. Andrew, I had one question that I really wanted to make sure that I asked you, and it goes back to around 2015 when you and I did a live membership that was called Membership Profits Live. We did that with Chris Farrell.
Yeah.
And I remember one of your specific sessions there was kind of geared towards people that are just getting started and understanding, like, I like this field. Is this something to go into? Could I run a membership in that? And you had like a very specific way for people to do a simple test. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, that's funny you remember that. The first thing about membership sites, I think, just as a sort of to set the scene, because obviously this relates to WishList. The big kind of aha moment for me many years ago was when I think it was Ryan Lee reminded me that, hey, recurring income, also referred to as passive income, is a game changer, because rather than all these one-time transactions, having someone agree to pay you over and over and over again is huge, and the importance of that cannot be overstated. It is absolutely a beautiful way of doing business. And so I've tried to structure the things I do as much as possible around that. But to your specific point, over the years, I've helped, probably tens of thousands of people to create membership sites. And one of the biggest challenges I know for a lot of people who like the idea but are not sure what to do has been, what topic should I choose? You know, if they haven't got a business already, but they love the idea, that's the question that everybody asks. And so I really worked hard to develop a system where anybody could go through a series of questions and come up with a bunch of topics that would be suitable. But I think the one that the biggest piece of the puzzle, the one that you're referring to, is the magazine test, and that is simply, and it is very simple. Is there a magazine on the topic that you're thinking of? Like a magazine in a in England we would call it news agent, but like a news outlet, or what would you call it in the States?
Maybe a bookstore.
Bookstore, yeah. If there's a magazine being sold, then it's a thumbs up for a membership site. And it's such a simple test because it establishes the two most important factors in whether a membership site will work or not. One is demand. Are there a sufficient number of people interested in this topic? And secondly, are there people willing to pay for this topic? And sometimes you'll find demand, but there isn't a willingness to pay. And the magazine test very nicely checks both of those boxes, because by its very nature, if someone buys a magazine, or if a magazine is for sale, I should say, it means that there's enough people to warrant the publication of it, and obviously it's for sale, so people are willing to spend that, $5, $6 to $10, whatever it is, each month on that. And it's a really nice way of verifying whether a niche will work or not. And likewise, if you're stuck for choosing a niche, you can just go down the store and browse the shelves, browse the racks, and it may well give you some pointers and ideas based on topics that you're already interested in, as maybe hobbies and things like that. So yeah, it's a really nifty way to verify whether a membership site will work.
I love that. Thanks for sharing it with us. Andrew, I know we're just about out of time, so we're going to wrap up. Can you show us your book and give us the title again?
Yeah, thanks.
I think you said it's Walt Disney's Way.
Yeah, Walt Disney's Way, 17 Success Secrets for Entrepreneurs. And the subtitle is How to Build a Better Business Using the Magical Marketing Strategies of Walt Disney. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Audible as well, if you prefer listening, read by yours truly.
Oh, nice. And I'll have to get the Audible version.
Yeah, the Audible one has done very well too. And I'm thrilled to say, literally every week I receive emails from people that I've never met before, saying, hey, I loved your book. We're using it in staff trainings now. It's been great. It's opened a lot of doors to me. One of the things that it enabled me to do recently was I'd had a lifelong ambition to visit Club 33. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it, but I don't.
Yeah, so this is a super secret club that Walt Disney started at Disneyland to host visiting dignitaries. And after he died, he kept it on as a private members-only club where you can, have a nice bar there, amazing food, and Walt spent a lot of time there, and but it's just impossible to get into. There's 15-year waiting list, and then if you do get picked, it's a $50,000 initiation fee plus $12,000 a year membership.
Oh my goodness.
And I got an email totally out of the blue from someone. Hey, I just read your book. I loved it. I'm a big Disney fan, and I'm a member of Club 33. Would you like to join me at Club 33 as my guest? And I couldn't reply fast enough.
Wow. Yes. Congrats.
And so I just did it recently. It was absolutely amazing.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Fulfilled an ambition there.
All right. I love that. And I know you do so many other things, and we haven't even talked about YouTube. So if somebody wants to learn more What's the best way for them to
Yeah,
find?
for the behind the scenes tours, you can check out magicalmarketingexperience.com,
Okay.
magicalmarketingexperience.com. And then for speaking, it's Andrew Lock, Lock, no E, Andrew Lock, Lock.com.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. I really
Pleasure. Yeah,
appreciate you taking out time and sharing some stuff with us for the
absolutely.
Memberships and Courses podcast. Have a great day.